Hi Dad, how you doing today?
Good day. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Okay. Um. Okay. I was born in Haiti in 1961.
All right.
And then my mother was living in Montreal, Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was 14,
Right.
she had me travel and join her in Montreal
Okay.
and to stay and live with her.
Mm.
And okay, for the next 13 years, I live in Montreal,
Montreal.
and I went to high school over there,
Oh,
and did 2 years of college as well.
2 years.
And then after that, I moved to Boston
Right.
and got married to your mom.
Oh, okay. All right. So let me just ask you like a few questions about like life as like a kid in Haiti, basically. So can you tell me like a few things that you had to like go through when you were like just like growing up like initially in Haiti?
Um, Actually, living as a kid in Haiti, I can say that those were some of the best years of my life.
Mm.
Because the reason is because at the time I had no worries whatsoever.
Okay.
I was just basically enjoying life as a kid, like playing soccer, like going to the ocean,
Mm.
playing with other kids, and not a care in the world, basically.
So you basically had like a, so you were basically a pretty carefree kid, right? Especially like when you were living in Haiti.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. So and were there like any big things going like happening? And so you said you like later on like you went to Montreal with your
Hmm.
mom, right?
Hmm.
So so you so can you tell me a few things about Montreal?
Okay. Um, what I remember from Montreal, it was, I mean, it still is, like, it's a great city.
Yeah.
And great city, like lots of entertainment, like good restaurants. And I always loved going to the movies.
Mm.
And I did that a lot while living in Montreal. And also, I was living with my mom, and I have to say that I was spoiled.
Mm.
And but not in a bad sense, but basically she provided for me the best way she could.
That's good.
And I have some great souvenirs from Montreal as well.
Okay. So basically, we're like most of like your formative years in like your life, they were mostly spent in Montreal aside from Haiti, right? Because you went to like high school when you said when you were 13 you went to high school in Montreal, right?
That's correct.
Right. So do you have like any were there like any big pivotal moments going on for you like in Haiti specifically? Like like you have like a pretty like carefree lifestyle essentially, and then you meant like mom like in the previous interview with mom she said you guys were like childhood sweethearts and you know
Yeah,
where that led to.
yeah, that's true. That is very true.
All right.
Um, Actually, okay, I was 8 years old at the time, like when I met her for the first time, and even at such a young age, I can dare say that it was like it was almost, actually, it was like love at first sight.
Love at first sight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and I used to tell her, okay, we used to play together like in the neighborhood,
Mhm.
um, And I used to tell her, oh, you know something, one day you're going to be my wife. And eventually, after I left Montreal, we kept contact. I kept on writing her letters,
Mm.
and she answered me.
Right.
And eventually, like her parents were living in Boston,
Right.
so they had her like travel to Boston as well. And one day, like she went to Montreal and she looked for me and she found me, and then we things happened. We became, I mean, we were always friends, but we sort of like
Yeah.
not renewed, but we kindled the flame, so to speak. And eventually I left Montreal and I came to Boston and we got married.
So, yeah, and since so you were like the first one to be able to get to Boston. Like between you and mom, you were the first one to get to Boston, right?
Yeah, I was the first one to leave Haiti, so to speak. Yeah.
Leave Haiti, right?
Uh-huh.
Like you didn't go to Boston. You went
I
went
went
to
to Montreal.
Yeah, you went
So
to
that's
Canada.
where my mother was living.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more? Can you tell me a little bit more about your mother? Like, what was she like? What kind of stuff did she do?
Oh, my mother. You never had a chance to meet her because she passed away. Um, but she was very loving, fine lady. And when I say that she spoiled me, she made sure that she provided me with everything that I needed. And I give her lots of credit for that. And also she did instill in me like a sense of pride. And always told me to work hard to get whatever I wanted out of life. And she was a good old mother as well.
Um, what about what about your dad? Do you know anything about like your dad too?
Of course, of course. Um, they were together in Haiti, but at some point my dad was leaving. I mean, went to New York, and my mother went to Montreal. So once in a while I would visit my dad in New York,
Right.
and but I still kept on seeing him from time to time.
Okay.
And he was he could be a very funny man at times, like because of things he used to say, and he was a good old mother as well.
Okay. Is he still around?
No,
You know,
no,
he
my
passed
dad
away?
passed away as well, unfortunately.
Do you know like what kind of job did they have? What kind of jobs did they work?
Okay, my mother was they call that a seamstress. A
Seamstress.
yes. Like she used to sew clothes, and she even used to make me some outfits as well, and she was very skilled.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. So, and you went to college for 2 years? Did you get your degree in Montreal?
No, I didn't graduate.
No? No, so you just, so you dropped out, basically?
No, well, I wouldn't really say like drop out, but okay, I went to in Montreal at the time. It was called Pure and Applied, but basically it was like Pure and Applied Sciences. And I had the option, I mean, from that field, I had the option of either being like maybe a doctor or a scientist, and I was really interested in being like in becoming a math teacher, mathematics teacher.
Huh.
But I didn't graduate because then at some point I said, let me move to Boston, and then start something like with your mom.
No. So you basically dropped out just to help out with my mom, right?
No, I wouldn't say dropped out.
Well,
Like I just
you just
I
you
just
decided,
move in another direction, so to speak.
right, right. So when you got to when you get to Boston, let's talk about like some of your experiences in Boston. Uh, how was it like trying to like make friends and like have conversations with like other people? Did you like experience like any kind of like like whatever was like going on at the time, like racism or like any like civil rights stuff? Like, did you ever like when you like basically came over here into Boston? Did you ever like what did you think when you wanted to like talk to people basically? Did you think they had like any like bias against like Haitians during the time or
No,
no?
no, me myself, I didn't really experience any bias, like because by nature I've always been like a very open person, and it's always been very easy for me, like let's say, to make friends, like because when I'm always open when I meet people, like I'm open like to talk to them, and for the most part. Most people I've met, like they've been very receptive and very warm. And even like let's say let's go back to Montreal. Like when I went to Montreal, and Montreal it's cold over there, and they have.
Yeah.
I wasn't used to snow. I mean, coming from Haiti and everything,
Right.
we have a different type of weather,
Right.
and I can see that. Basically, like the first time I saw snow, I spent the whole day outside. I mean, playing in the snow with some friends in Montreal, some uh, some Canadian-born friends, and you were talking about racism.
Right. Did
And,
you ever
and
experience anything like that?
no, not really, because and at the time I had I had quite a few friends, and most of them were I mean, they were white, and I got along so well with them that let's say that after school, like usually I used to uh, very often, like I would go, they would invite me over at their house.
Right.
We'd play, watch TVs. Sometimes I would eat over there without ever getting any hint of any type of racism or feeling any discomfort
Right.
because I was a different race. Now they never made me feel that way. So in that sense, I've been very blessed and maybe even lucky, but I've never really experienced like let's say strong,
Yeah.
hardcore racism, so to speak.
Yeah. That racism is like like nowadays like I see like a few movies that kind of like downplay like people who come into America basically. It's like they kind of make racism not seem as bad as it was back then, but it's kind of like but it kind of just like misses the point or like makes a big misrepresentation of kind of like the stuff that goes down in that. And I'm really glad that you didn't have to deal with like any of that. From like what you're saying here, like you didn't have to deal with like any of that. You did have like a lot of good friends and everything. So,
Okay, maybe I dealt with it like, but let's say, I don't know, I would say maybe like behind my back, but openly.
openly.
I mean, from my years in Montreal, and even up to now, like living in the United States, I never really had that feeling that being self-conscious about the fact that okay, I have to worry like I'm black. No. I've most of most, if not all, of the white friends I've had
Right.
so far, I've always had a very high level of comfort. mean, sharing experiences with them, living with them. Oh yeah.
So can you tell me like, so it's interesting. So you've got, so unlike mom, you didn't come from just like Haiti to Boston. You came from Haiti to Canada and into Boston now. So you basically have three cultures. So basically, you're dealing with three completely different like places, right? So so what? So like think about like like the first time you came here from Haiti to Montreal and then to Boston, like how did you? So what were some of the things you kind of like noticed about like those other two cities basically like the first time you came into Boston, like what were some of the things you like noticed?
Okay, about Boston.
Yeah, like the first time you came in, like they're holding like you have like a part of your like Haitian heritage and everything, like that's what you know. And then when you came into Boston, you tell them like what was the culture like, the infrastructure and essentially.
Okay. Um, I don't mean to insult anybody,
Right.
but I have to say, okay, let's say like when I moved to Montreal,
Yeah.
I found the people to be extremely friendly.
Friendly.
But I would say it's a different experience with Boston.
Mm.
Um, I think in Boston people they're more guarded.
Guarded.
Hmm.
What do you mean by that?
I mean they're not as open.
Mm.
Okay, I mean takes them a little while to get to know you, and then afterwards like they will open up.
All right.
But in terms of, let's say, feeling at ease, it took me a little longer while living in Boston. I mean, to get accustomed to the little differences in culture.
Right. Right. So, so did you have like any jobs like while you so what did you have like any professions like once you came into Boston? Like what was like the first profession you had to do?
I wouldn't really call it profession. Okay, when I got to Boston, what did I do first? Oh, okay. At first I worked as a security guard
Right.
on a construction site, and after that
Didn't you also work at a place called like White Hen Pantry?
yeah, okay. I worked as the security guard. Then I worked in a that was a convenience store.
Yeah.
Okay, White Hen Pantry. That was the company at the time. I don't think they have too many of them left. I don't.
Yeah, I think it's gone.
I
It's
think
gone by
the
now.
company is gone.
Yeah.
Then then I worked at Christie's Market, another convenience store,
Right.
and then
You were working at Fleet, right?
yeah, then I moved to I mean, then I moved to banking, and I worked
Right.
for that bank no longer exists.
Yeah, Fleet.
Not Fleet. I worked at Bay Bank,
Bay Bank. Oh.
Bay Bank, and then they became Fleet, I believe, and then Fleet, they merged with Bank of Boston, and they became Bank Boston,
Bank Boston. Right.
and then from there, what happened? Then I think there was another merger, like they became. I'm not really sure, but I ended up at Bank of America,
Right.
and then from Bank of America to
Citizens.
Citizens Bank,
Bank.
then Citibank, and then
Citibank. Worcester. Webster.
And then Webster Bank. Yeah.
Webster.
Mhm.
They have a lot of experience in like the banking field, basically.
Yeah, I could say that.
So what? So is there any reason why? So is there any reason why you're not getting into that anymore, or?
Mm, no, I'm a little tired of the field a bit.
So you're just resting from that whole experience, right?
No, I wouldn't really say Westing, but I went into another direction.
Right into another direction. It seems to be a recurring theme here, right? Because you told me like in Montreal you had to go another direction, and then it's like here, then you come into Boston, you do a lot of security work, convenience stores, and then
No, I didn't do security like for a long time.
Yeah.
I did for a little while.
for a little bit. And then you're just like going into new directions, basically.
Mhm.
So you seem to be like looking. So basically, it seems like you're trying to look for like. Would it be wrong to say like another like purpose, basically? Since you seem to be like going into like new directions all most of the time.
No, I wouldn't really say that.
No.
Always look. Let me put it like that. Always looking for like for better opportunities.
Better opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing, right? Were there any? So let me see. Were there like any opportunities for you in like there weren't like a lot of opportunities there in Haiti, right? Basically, did you like catch up on like most of like the stuff that was happening there politically?
No, I've never really been involved into anything political.
Into anything political,
Mm-hmm.
but just specifically with Haiti, right?
Not everywhere.
Everywhere.
Mhm.
So you're not really into the politics. So
But don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I follow politics,
you follow politics.
but I don't get involved in it.
Okay. That's interesting.
Don't get me wrong. I vote and everything, but I'm not really. Let's say I'm not really what you would call like somebody who's politically like a militant. Nah.
Okay. So, I really believe involved. So, another thing that like makes me wonder like whenever I'm doing these interviews is like I'm always thinking like basically I always thought like going through like all these like these throughout like all those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder if you feel like you're more of like one kind of one kind of place you've been, like you've emigrated to, or like your original place. Like, do you feel like you're still like inside of inside? Do you feel like sometimes I want to like? Do you feel like you're less Haitian at times, or like are you like in tune with like the culture you came from, like the one you're born with, and then like living in Montreal, and then here and now in Boston? Do you feel like there's like an equilibrium between like those cultures, or do you feel like you're more a part of one of them than the other?
Good question. No. Actually, since I'm living like in the United States right now,
Right.
I would have to say that from the three cultures, like I have to be like more American.
More American?
More American because this is where I'm living,
Right.
and I have to abide by by their laws
Right.
and their customs as well, and their way of life.
Right. Okay. But do you still feel like you retain like all those like original like all those times you were like basically like your memories of like Haiti and everything, all your memories of like your life basically in Montreal and everything, like you have like you pretty much have like from what we've gathered so far, it seems like you've had like a pretty good lifestyle. You have like a pretty carefree upbringing here in like Haiti. then you had like, then you started making like bigger decisions. Then you're like in Montreal, and you seem to be doing like a lot of good, and you have like a lot of good work experience here in America too. So
Okay, but what was your question? Was your original question was
do you feel like you're more? Do you feel like you're in tune with all of those like all of those experiences from like
oh, very much so,
yeah,
very
and
much so, because whatever experience I had to go through,
right,
I mean, this is what made me like who I am today.
right,
Whether it was in Haiti, Montreal, or the United States.
right,
So the sum of all those experiences that has shaped me to be who I am today, what I am today, like my way of thinking,
right.
the way I see things, everything.
That's okay. Let me also like ask you another few questions. Like, what about like the rest of your Like, what about like the rest of your family? I know, like after like, did you like ever like have like talk to them at some points? Like when you were like going, like you know, like when you were in like Montreal, do you feel like were they also like trying to go to Boston with the rest of you?
No,
Like,
no.
no?
They never had any interest of like moving to Boston except for Tati Julian.
That's Julian?
Yeah, my older sister.
Hmm.
But the others, my other brothers and sisters,
Right?
they no they actually one of them is one of my brothers is living in Rhode Island.
Rhode Island. That's Uncle Harry, right?
That's correct.
Right. So how's he doing these days?
He's doing okay. He's doing good.
That's good. So, do you know like any of the reasons he wanted to like basically? So he moved here. Do you know like any good reasons why? Why?
No.
No.
He moved to from Haiti. He went to New York.
Oh, so he went to New York.
Went to New York.
Right.
Then he lived there for quite a while.
Right.
And then he got married to this lady, and they decided to move to Rhode Island.
Okay. All right. And you also said your dad worked in New York, right?
Yes.
Did he also? So he also did he also move to New York with your dad?
No.
No. This was like a complete. This was at like a different time, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, basically.
They move at different times. Yeah.
Okay. So. Alright, hold on. So do you have like any good like do you want like anything you want like the rest of the like any people like watching this interview to like take away with you? Like any good?
You mean take away from me?
Yeah, like
Or
any
take away with them?
yeah, like basically something that could like inspire you to like like when they like hear you like speak like they think about like the points you make and the stuff you like go through like your like all your experiences, your history basically.
Okay. If I have anything to say, it would be overall. It would be to be humble.
Be humble.
I think that's very important
Right.
in life. Very important, and also to always remain. I don't want to use like any big terms or anything, but always remain intellectually curious.
Intellectually curious,
Yes.
right? So you think you'd consider yourself an intellectual? You think of yourself as a curious man, right?
Well, I try to be at the very least, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, in the sense that always try to learn, and
Right.
don't get into any like comfort zone where you start feeling that this is all I need to know. I don't need to learn anymore.
Right.
Because I really believe that life is a lesson in humility.
life is a lesson in humility.
Yes.
So, and what do you mean by a lesson in humility?
No, basically that even if sometimes, and it's a human reaction, even if sometimes we may have a tendency to feel or think that we know it all,
Right.
um, but basically, like the more we're learning, the
Right.
more we find out that we know nothing.
Sounds right.
So that's what I mean by always remain, excuse me, intellectually like curious.
That's a good. That's a pretty good piece of advice to like have without like any anything like anybody's like to have. Like it's good to like I do like that because I always like, and I feel like I take that from you as well
Mm.
because I always don't because I don't like acting as if I know everything that goes on in the world because truly nobody really does, and I kind of feel like that's a good quality that's like just been passed down from to us.
Or basically, like, let's just, like, to put it in more simple terms,
Right.
let's just say that always stay open to learning something new. Like, whether it's a new culture or a new friend
Right.
or a new idea from a friend. Always listen to, like, what somebody else has to say. You might learn something useful, you might not.
Right.
But it's always good to be open to learn something new.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the interview, Dad.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
You don't have any more questions?
No, that's pretty much all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Dad.
You're welcome, son.